Not long ago, I was chatting with some really sharp college students, and a fantastic question came up. And honestly, in today's world, where we're just swimming in a sea of information, this question feels more important than ever. I mean, think about it. We have books, podcasts, blogs, courses, just this endless stream of self-help content. It's an incredible resource, but it can also be so overwhelming, right? So how do we cut through all that noise and find what actually leads to real, lasting change? Let's map out a strategy together.
So in this explainer, we're going to walk through a 6-part journey. We'll kick things off by really defining the self-help challenge. Then, we'll build a solid foundation. After that, we're diving into turning knowledge into action, reinforcing what we learn, building habits that actually stick, and finally, committing to a real transformation.
All right, first things first. Let's really nail down the problem we're trying to solve here. Because it's not about a lack of information. It's something much, much deeper than that.
And here it is, the core issue. The real challenge today is sifting through all this stuff, consuming it, and, this is the most important part, applying that knowledge in a way that leads to genuine transformation. It's so easy to consume, but it's really hard to apply.
So, how do we fix that? Well, it all starts with laying the right groundwork before you even open a single book or press play on a podcast.
Okay, before you jump in, just hit pause for a second and reflect. What are you actually hoping to achieve? Do you want to boost your productivity, get a handle on your time? Defining a specific goal is like setting a destination in your GPS. It guides you right to the content you need, so you're not just wandering aimlessly. Your efforts become super focused and purposeful.
I love this toolbox metaphor. It's the perfect way to think about it. If you're struggling with procrastination, you don't just grab any old tool, right? You look for something specific, like a book on habit formation. Think Atomic Habits. Your goal tells you which tool you need.
And this brings us to a very common trap, the temptation to just consume everything. But look, devouring dozens of books without going deep just waters down the impact. The goal isn't to skim the surface. Instead, the real win is focusing on just a few high-quality resources that let you really dig in, absorb the lessons, and pull out some meaningful value.
Okay, so you've found the right material. Awesome. But that's only half the battle. Now comes the really critical part. Turning that passive knowledge into active, real-world change.
And here's the thing you gotta understand. Passively reading or just listening to something, it's not enough. Active engagement is the secret sauce that makes the content come alive and actually stick with you. So how do we do that? Well, first, take notes to really lock in your understanding. Second, you have to constantly ask yourself, how does this actually apply to my life? And third, get creative. Make visuals like mind maps to connect all the dots. This is how you go from just consuming content to having a real learning experience. Because let's be real, knowledge without action is just information collecting dust in your brain. You have to pick 1 or 2 lessons and actually experiment. Go try that time management trick or that new wellness ritual. And remember, personal development is a super individual journey. It's totally okay if something doesn't work for you. The experiment itself is a huge part of the process.
But here's the good news. Your journey doesn't have to be a solo mission. In fact, growth really speeds up when we reinforce what we're learning and connect with other people. So whether it's an online forum, a book club, or even a social media group, sharing what you're learning gives you fresh perspectives and keeps that motivation burning. Seriously, these communities can become an invaluable network for accountability, encouragement, and growing together. But learning is definitely not a one-and-done kind of thing. You have to circle back, review what you've learned. This regular reflection is what keeps the knowledge from just being a cool idea you read in a book and turns it into a real, consistent part of who you are. To help with that, I want you to start by asking yourself this question and take a real moment to consider what has shifted for you, no matter how small it might seem.
And then, let's push it a little further. This question encourages you to think about that next layer of growth, turning a single change into a deeper, more profound improvement in your life.
We've covered a lot, but how do we make sure these changes aren't just a flash in the pan? This next part is all about building habits that are going to stick around for the long haul. Oh man, it is so easy to fall into the trap of consuming way more than you can possibly process. You have to be intentional. It is so much better to fully absorb and apply the lessons from one single book than it is to skim through 10 without any real impact. Focus on fewer resources to give yourself the mental space to actually reflect and take action. You see, sustainable growth comes from turning those strategies you learn into actual habits. It's a simple flow. You learn a technique, you apply consistently by making it part of your routine, and eventually, it just evolves from a temporary experiment into a lasting habit that actually shapes your life. So, as we bring all of these strategies together, it's really important to remember the ultimate purpose of this whole process.
This right here is the key takeaway. The ultimate goal isn't to just collect information, it's to transform that knowledge into meaningful, tangible change. The real power is in the action you take, the consistency you bring to the table, and the reflections you make along the way.
And now, I want to turn it over to you. What resources have had the biggest impact on your life, and how did you make the most of them? You know, sharing our stories of growth isn't just inspiring, it also provides amazing insights for other people on their own journeys. So, here's to embracing both knowledge and action with real purpose.